Hi guys, if you're always on the hunt for retro goodies, it pays to stop into op shops or thrift stores you might call them whenever passing through small rural country towns. And I did that a few days ago. This is the Salvation Army thrift store at Boona. Something I found quite curious caught my eye while I was in there, and to be honest, I'd never seen or heard of this device before, and I paid a grand total of 12 Australian dollars for it. This of course leads us to unboxing time with Mr. Snuggle Wuggles. As usual, I don't really want to go into the kind of details that are covered in other videos about this. I'd like to gloss over the review part and concentrate on programming. But I think this might end up being a series which wouldn't be complete without some kind of review. I'll disregard the device itself for now, and this product I guess wins the prize for the most printed material in the box. This one is the software manual for the software used to transfer and sync files. The big product manual, that's the very thick comprehensive manual. We also have accessories and software. There's another one of these, so I guess this is just the abbreviated form. And this one, I'd like to take a look inside that later because it shows some screenshots of commercial software that we're probably not going to see again. The actual CD-ROM for the communication software. And the batteries, 2 AA batteries, and this shows you where to put them. We'll show you that later. We've got a support fax number so we can send faxes in the days of the internet, because this is from around 1999, since Windows 98 is the compatible software. Year 2000 compliant, gives us another indication of the era this device comes from. Guess it was never registered. A web address for purchasing commercial software. I probably would if I could. Really, I might. And a quick start guide. 2 quick start guides. One of them's quick start for setting up your email. And the last one here is some sort of advertisement for a free email account or free internet service. Not sure what that's about, and I'm not going to read it. And gloves. ESD gloves. They're not for ESD protection, they're to protect you from my unsightly hands that are too grotesque to show on video. The same reason as Tecmoan, they get roughed up, and I bite my nails, but I dare say that I do more work with my hands than Tecmoan would ever do. Anyway, this is it, the device. I'm excited. So here is a coin battery for backup of the RAM drive. If you lose the battery and you don't have a compact flash card that goes in this socket, you will lose all of your work. There's a spring release stowaway place for a stylus, which can be used for pointing at the screen. It is a touch screen. It is quite sensitive enough to use your fingers for bigger areas on the display like buttons. This port here is RS232 serial port. I don't have the cable for that yet, and that's what's preventing me from making a better video than this one. It's standard, but the plug I'll need to be able to make an interface cable for a computer. The really difficult rotten catch that I'm trying to release here is where the batteries go that you saw earlier in the manual. And it isn't just the gloves here, it's a really yucky, afraid to break it catch. It's a good idea, but maybe there's a trick I haven't worked out to opening it yet, but it's quite hairy and difficult. These are 3 dedicated buttons on the side of the device, record, stop and play, that allow you to use it for dictation without opening it up and using the GUI. They're protected by a cover, so you could take it out and quickly record a note and or play it back. The more modern of this PSION series are well known and well loved for the mechanism that's used to fold out the keyboard and display, making it appear much larger than it was when it was folded up. The keyboard's very usable and very high quality, just like a laptop. I'm showing you the LCD backlight there, which is turned on with function and space. The device is turned back off with function escape. And I'll show you a close-up of the mechanism here as I close it, and being very careful because the mechanism is also responsible for the destruction of some of these devices. This is one of the early glamour shots I took shortly after receiving the PSION MX5, and this is by no means the only model. There's the Series 5 before that, and Series 3 before that, and there's also a Series 6 that comes later. There's a whole heap of models before and after that, including a full-size laptop with a monochrome display and another interesting handheld device that goes on a forklift for data acquisition. The company started in 1980 as a software company and withdrew from handheld devices in 2001, eventually shutting up shop in 2012 and selling out to Motorola. I mentioned earlier I wanted to show you a flick through the software and accessories brochure because it gives you a pretty good idea of how the device was marketed and how it might have been used. That's some insight we won't really get from homebrew software that was written by private individuals. The unit takes compact flash for storage, and you'll notice here that the largest capacity card that was made for the device was 20 megabytes, and I've found that my 8 gigabyte card won't work even if it's formatted in FAT16 as a 20 megabyte partition. Card modem adapter. Your card modem plugs into the RS232 port, and then I suppose the adapter would come with you wherever you travelled and plug into the phone line. And that also provided the battery power to run the card modem. So the device has an email client and a web browser, I believe, maybe? Yes, of course it does, but you wouldn't be watching YouTube on it. An audio program, interesting, maybe it's a wave editor, not really sure. Because the device comes with a built-in recorder, which can visualize a wave. And the part that really rings my bell is coming right up. GPS. Oh, full-on GPS vector mapping program. I don't know what to say. For this era, I'm blown away. And this software claims to do the route navigation, pathfinding, the whole lot. And also, if you have the serial cable and plug it into a GPS, it'll actually work and follow your position on a map. If that was still available for a reasonable price and relevant to my location, I might even buy that today. Well, it's probably not going to excite me any more than that, but there are some more games. There's Tetris. I could probably write that. But yeah, for the rest of the video, I'm going to get into programming because the device excited me initially with its ability to edit and run programs on the device itself. So you could take this thing out camping and write a little program. That's in a language called OPL, which might be pronounced Opal. The first example I tried was a simple routine to convert degrees to radians, but the example was rather confusing. As the example suggests, we should be multiplying the input by pi and dividing that by 180 and then printing the result, but that's not what this program does. To convert degrees to radians, why does this program call the cosine function at all? Turns out the program does something entirely different than it states, but with a bit of adjustment, the process in general works, and the unit doesn't mind doing 32-bit math. Aren't you getting a bit ahead of yourself there? We're on to programming now using the device itself. People might want to know about bundled software and things like that. Well, I'm not a review channel and it's really about the programming. You might get that one dislike you get on some of your videos. So these devices run an operating system called Epoch, which is the origin of Symbian. I learned from this experience that I'm going to need to come up with a little bit more junk to do a really good screen capture. This one starts out great, but ends up not so great. This application could be likened to Word, and it is very well featured. I don't see the flickering on the display that you see there, but I do see ghosting when I scroll. This is a spreadsheet that I'm not going to bother playing with, but it looks nice. The next two applications are called Contacts and Agenda, which I'm probably never going to use, but a businessman might. We have an email client, a calculator which does have a scientific view. I'll do a few simple tests with the calculator later. We have Jotter, which actually looks like a spiral notepad, so I guess you could liken that to Notes application on an iPhone. The extras icon shows another line of display with another bunch of icons for extra programs, and this one is interesting. A scribble program. You can draw street maps with it. It's interesting. It has roads that build up like Lego. This one is a world clock. You can input a geolocation by pointing at the map and it'll try to work out a time zone and give you the local time for the location. It has alarms and I'm sure a lot of other things. This program is the dictation recorder, which can be quickly accessed with the external buttons that I showed you before. It doesn't have a lot of memory because it records into RAM, and I don't know if that changes when you have a compact flash card. And finally, we get to the program editor, where I've already written a quick program that uses 2D graphics routines. I'm learning as I go, but variables are defined at the top of the program there, and this will draw circles, but the circle will increase in radius and decrease. And it actually draws 3 circles that are 1 pixel larger than the other progressively. And that's because if this program runs too fast, it ghosts, and you can't see the circle at all if you draw a 1 pixel wide circle. So this is 3 pixels wide because there are 3 circles for every frame, and a pause function is used to slow the program down. Otherwise it's so fast that you just don't see anything because 1 circle doesn't stay on the screen long enough to see it. This language feels like a cross between C and BASIC, but closer to BASIC. The use of variables, the overall feel, it's like BASIC has always been a part of C, but C expands that. It's very hard to port a C program to BASIC, but very easy the other way around. This is fun to play with now, but eventually when I get a communications cable, I'd like to use the C SDK on a PC. One of the classic calculator tests, the square root of 2 multiplied by the square root of 2 should come to an even 2. And it's a pass. Might as well try dividing 1 by 0 while we're here, and we get a maths error as the result. And I do believe that's an error trap. Here's a bigger program. We've got rotating points and lines now. So it's basically, I think the variables are all floats. I haven't quite worked everything out yet. I don't even know how to include comments in a program. But if we run it, we find that it's very slow. And this isn't the computer. You could actually write a cracking demo for it, but the LCD lets it down, so I've had to write a delay loop. The inbuilt pause command doesn't have an argument fast enough that'll let it run any faster than a snail. We have a Fourier series square wave there. It might be familiar from previous videos. I might hold off on this language now and wait for the communications cable. This isn't bad at all though, it's more than adequate. I come into something like this with the expectation like one of my microcontrollers, and it's much faster than that. You've got access to the file system, so you could write a GPS with this, no worries. I hope you enjoyed the video. That's all I've got for you today. That was the PSION 5MX. This should be the topic of a couple more videos, but not the next ones coming up. I've got projects waiting for that. Bye for now.